the banana and tip.
Looks like we got us another hit. Yep.
Why Texas Republicans aren't talking about abortion ahead of the primaries. It says this year's presidential election is the first since Roe versus Wade was overturned and Texas began banning nearly all abortions. But on the campaign trail, few GOP lawmakers are talking about their signature abortion restrictions.
But why would they? I mean, they've gotten what they wanted so far, so there's no need to blast that. Now, if they were maybe still fighting for certain things, maybe they would make it some kind of awareness of the needs, that the changes that need to come from it. But I mean, shit. I mean, they're controlling that whole narrative. Why do they need? The other people should be talking about it.
That's a really good point, I would say. But you do have politicians talking about a nationwide ban. It's just like what they're saying is they're not bringing this stuff up. Let's read this one. It says, at the Texas Rally for Life last month, no Republican politicians addressed the crowd. In stump speeches across the state, incumbents are more likely to touch on immigration and school vouchers than abortion. It says, experts say among the reasons are that most Texans don't agree with the strictness of the new laws. Abortion measures aren't a priority for Republican voters this election cycle, and Democrats aren't applying pressure yet. So he's saying experts are saying that the Texans don't agree with the strictness of the law. So that's the reason why it's really not that popular, I think. And that's the reason the politicians know this. So then, they don't want to talk about something that's going to turn off their audience or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think that's why they're avoiding the topic.
Well, that too. And also, like, one of the reasons why the Democrats are not talking about it is because, like, they weren't mad about it being turned over either.
Well, let's read this. It says, this year's presidential election is the first since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade and Texas began banning nearly all abortions. But on a campaign trail in Texas, few GOP lawmakers are talking about their signature abortion restrictions. This may seem counterintuitive for policymakers who are coming off of two major legislation victories and passing the citizen-enforced 6-week abortion ban in 2021 and the near total trigger ban that took effect after the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. I think they see that the law that we have are working as the legislation intended, said Joe Podgman, executive director of Texas Alliance for Life. But there are political reasons that could explain that decision, said Joshua Blank, research director at the University of Texas at Austin's Texas Politics Project. Let's read some comments. It says, because taking away a woman's bodily autonomy and a family's right to make decisions about childbearing is non-negotiable, we will vote every single Republican out of office. What's really, and I want to get into this. I have some clips, but the in vitro, I'm not saying it right.
In vitro.
In vitro, the frozen babies. What state? Arkansas, I want to say. One of the states said that's a life, and it's causing them to have to close down certain. Let me get it. Let me see if I can find that. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find that. Because I know I shared a couple of those. Wait, is this one? Let's see this.
Reaction to the Alabama Supreme Court ruling on the fact that embryos are children?
Yeah, I was all for it. You just got to look at everything going on in the country. It's just an attack on families, attack on kids. Anything that we can do for the future of our young people, because they're our number one commodity. We need to have more kids. We need to have an opportunity to do that. And I thought this was the right thing to do. But
IVF is used to have more children. And right now, IVF services are paused at some of the clinics in Alabama. Aren't you concerned that this could impact people who are trying to have kids?
Well, that's for another conversation. I think the big thing is right now you go back to the situation and try to work it out to where it's best for everybody. I mean, that's what the whole abortion issue is about. So
This really isn't about abortion. It's about IVF and the concern that now families might not have access to it.
but it's about the same direction. But I agree. But people need to have access. People need to have. We need more kids. We need the people to have the opportunity to have kids. You know, I'd have to look at the entire bill of how it's written. I have not seen it.
Supreme Court decision.
Well, I know that, but I'd have to look. I haven't looked at it. But this is state issue.
Women aren't going to be able to have IVF treatments already in some places.
Yeah, that's
What do you say
unfortunate.
to them?
Unfortunate.
Do you have a reaction to the Alabama?
That's unfortunate. These are the repercussions of this law, of the abortion bans is leading to all of these repercussions that, probably was unforeseen, and this is one of them right here. And all he has to say is that it's unfortunate.
Well, when you've got somebody with a microphone in your face trying to get you a gotcha statement, you go as neutral as possible. And that's what he did. That's unfortunate. That's something he just kept saying. I don't know about the law.
I haven't read it. I haven't read the bill.
It's like, give me a minute before you ask me for a hardcore decision.
Yeah, and I should trust. And I should trust what your
on the
your
other
word
hand,
is.
does this not absolutely point toward what I've been arguing the whole time about the fight is going to be over the definition of when life starts.
Yes, and that's what this is about. The trying to decide on that. So, and that's what they decided in Alabama is that
You said China decided on that?
No. This is Alabama. They decided.
I thought I heard you say China decided on that.
I heard China in there too, but I figured it was just some stuff bubbling together there.
Yeah, just bubbling words. No, it's Alabama Supreme Court decided that those frozen embryos are alive and they get protection. Let's read this right quick. It says, we need to have more kids. It says Senator Tommy Tuberville, Republican Alabama, commented on the recent Alabama Supreme Court ruling classifying frozen embryos as children. The decision could mean clinics or individuals who dispose of or destroy frozen embryos could be charged with wrongful death. Some IVF providers in Alabama have already paused treatments, so they try to figure out the implications of the decision. So, they could be charged with wrongful death, because what happened was one of them dropped the tube on the ground, and so they got sued. And that's what sent it to the Supreme Court of Alabama. And Alabama chose in favor of the person that was suing them about dropping the thing. But as a result of it, these people are trying to have kids. Like, you have people who have trouble, making babies. So they use this, to make kids, you know what I'm saying? So it's having the opposite effect when we're saying that, we want to ban abortion so people can have babies. Then now you got people who have trouble making babies using this procedure, but they can't use it now as a result. So it having the opposite impact that is intended, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Am I making sense? I feel like I'm kind of wrong.
No, I'm off on that. See, this has nothing to do with the abortion laws, and that's where it's getting conflated. This has to do with when is a clump of cells a life?
Yeah, but the reason why we get into that point was because of
no. The abortion issue is secondary to the nature of this. This is remember, this is a precedent that they need set, that both sides need set right now. Because if they set this as a precedent that yes, that's a child, well, then an unborn fetus becomes protection under the Constitution and cannot be aborted.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is given the protection of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So until that kid comes out, it's basically like they're in jail and mama's belly is the jail.
Mm-hmm.
And now we start getting into the implication of human rights and forced pregnancy and stuff right now, which technically if I'm not mistaken, being forced to give birth against your will is a violation of the Human Rights Act, and it's a violation of the Geneva Convention. Just, international law, all that stuff. Technically,
Yeah, this is getting crazy.
it's considered inhumane to force someone to
But
either abort
but
or give birth
but
to a child against their will.
well, my part in that is that, like, look, there's reasonable ways to, like, I mean, you can decide to, of course, say not have sex, but you can decide to actually do things to prevent getting pregnant before this child gets here, and we have this conversation. But if you're an adult, and you these things, I guess, happen, if you're one of the rare cases that you are on a some kind of pill or whatever, you took some precautions and you still got pregnant. I mean, that's just a rare circumstance, and you should just play along with it and just have the kid. If the laws get changed to that point. But overall, I think that of course, this is a whole lot.
So if a court finds a man guilty, he should just go ahead and go along with it, even if he's not.
Well,
I mean, there some act was done. All things, it wasn't technically illegal, but since it ended up in an illegal manner, we're just going to send him to jail anyway. Technically, even though no law has really been broken.
I don't think that's the same thing at all.
So let me read this. It says clinics began to pause IVF treatments after the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that frozen embryos can be considered children under state law. So it says the Shade Room posted this. Here we go. Last week, Alabama Supreme Court decision declared that embryos are considered children, which means that those who destroy them can be held liable for wrongful death. This comes almost 2 years after the U.S. Supreme Court ended the nationwide federal right to an abortion, and this state's decision was brought by a couple who had frozen embryos destroyed by accident. Since the ruling, 3 clinics have paused IVF treatments. It says the process of in vitro fertilization offers a possible solution when a woman has trouble getting pregnant, according to AP News. Doctors are concerned that this decision could substantially restrict access to a very vital fertility treatment that has helped countless folks today expand their families. What I'm saying is this is having the opposite impact of what they really want. If the whole point of stopping people from having abortions is so we have more babies, then this procedure is about people who have trouble making babies, and they're not going to be able to use this in Alabama.
I mean, I guess that's the part that was confusing me, is because
there's
how
nothing
is it
being
that
made illegal.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Well,
I didn't
They're
see where they
stopping
were
the treatments
stopping.
because of liability.
right. They're worried about, somebody could accidentally drop a test tube and end up going to jail
And
for
become the next mass
wrongfully.
murderer.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, all that is companies saying, yeah, we're not going to take that chance.
Right.
And by the way,
You can't blame them.
do realize you're basically arguing that rich people need to be able to have more kids.
Well, I'm just saying these is the
I know.
repercussions.
Convenient argument, even though you're fighting for the rich people at this moment.
I mean, anybody that can, it's just the repercussion. I think that people don't realize what they're doing in a lot of cases. There's a reason why abortion was legal. And, these kinds of things are the results of switching that without fully
But
going
my,
through the process of understanding what the
but
implications of it will be.
my whole thing is why is it, why is an abortion conversation at all? because like we're talking about something that happened at it's Planned Parenthood that's have helping with these you know these in vitro babies, them saving the eggs and things like that. How does this become an abortion issue other than the fact that this somebody just threw that in the conversation because this is some like liability issue, that they're suggesting to maybe not do this service anymore because of the mistake that was made and because of the liability that comes with it. How does abortion become a part of that conversation?
Because
It's
the
because
abortion,
the argument against abortion right now is going to boil down into when a life begins.
right,
They are defining a fertilized
No,
embryo in a test tube as a child already.
but that's
right.
the thing. I mean, who like all right, to me that's like there's no part about it like when the light sparks, when the sperm hits the egg, it has sparked the life. That's where it begins. Like
Yeah.
anybody
So, but
that's
then if
in
you
real
freeze them,
science will only fight against that because of their own social.
yeah, but it's not as simple as that. Because then once you freeze them, so that they
Okay,
can,
now you've taken that child and frozen it at super sub-zero temperatures to the point where you stopped all metabolic movement and cell activity. Technically, it's cell death, even though it can be revived. That's still killing it and reviving it.
All right, look, y'all finish y'all conversation. I'm out.
let me read some. Let me read some comments. It says, "So when I claim my frozen eggs as dependents for life, I don't want to hear anything from the IRS." See,
Somebody's still waiting on their check.
see,
And the
you
question
know,
is, would that include one that we keep in our own freezer?
see,
Oh
like
wow.
this would be random. This would be problems. This would be stuff that they would have to work out. Of course, this is ridiculous what she's saying, but this is what the door that has been opened. Let me
Bro.
read another one. It says, next thing you know, a woman have a period that disposes the egg will be illegal. See? They are starting to say that too, like because you have those miscarriages that happen sometimes. They're just like spontaneous miscarriages. And then who's to say it was something that the mother did or whatever? She wasn't eating properly or she was, you know, doing something that caused the miscarriage to happen. And then they can hold her accountable for that.
Well, look, let me ask this: Is should they maybe try to figure out a way that in these abortion issues that instead like in the abortion quote unquote abortion process is to be able to take it and keep it alive and store it until somebody you find a good parent for this child and then allow it to continue growing in somebody else's body or something.
I think that would affect this. This would affect that too, I think.
Bro, this is horrible, bro.
It's gonna get weird, man. This is the road we're going down.
So,
Let me.
but I mean, but this is also, when we're talking about abortion, it's also the conversation of having the right to be able to kill your child. If we're gonna have the conversation, we got to look at it from the other side too. Like, okay,
I mean, I
we go,
can't
we
say
we
that
are
what you're
we,
saying is not right. I can't even, argue with that. I mean, because that's kind of what we're talking about. Let me read another comment. It says, I don't know what's the weird obsession with women and their reproductive organs and kids in general. Like it's weird. Another one, it says, they care more about the unborn than the living. Another one, it says the same Alabama that rejected millions of dollars in federal funding that would have kept children fed in schools. Okay, got it. And that's one of the parts of this that's really weird to me. It's like
That
they're so
that's goes back to that thing we were talking about on the show the other night. Everyone's all, oh, they rejected money for a program. None of those programs got closed down. Nobody went hungry because that they didn't get more money to give free stuff out. I mean, and it's all that millions of dollars over each family getting a $40 card.
Because I mean, there's actually
What?
some people that's actually saying that the debt is real, and they don't want to contribute to it, and they don't want to make their uh, citizens, the citizens of their states, subject to more of this debt. So uh, it just really kind of depends on your perspective, because you know some people think that, okay, the debt is not real, and that other countries are not growing past us, and other things like that because of decisions that we make here. But I
I
I
just
think
think that what it sounds like to me is that they care about the babies until they're born. Like they're pro-life all the way up until the baby comes out of the womb, and then after that, it's like you're on your own. Investigate both sides of the argument, come up with your own conclusions.